If you're going through a miscarriage, stop and watch this video. Hey guys, welcome back to my video, and today's video is something different. This is a sit-down video, but I wanted to film this video because I think it's important. I want to talk about miscarriage. I want to talk about surviving miscarriage, getting through it, and the hope on the other side. So if you're watching this video, you may or may not be a part of the world's suckiest club in the entire world that I wish you did not have to be a part of if you have found this video. I can say that because I too have been the person on YouTube Googling and looking for videos like this, hoping to find some hope in a video that would give me some guidance about what I had just been thrown into. And it really is the suckiest club in the world, and no one wants to be introduced into it, but chances are you've probably heard our kind of initiation phrase into this club. And I'm not trying to make light of this, but chances are you have heard the phrase, "There was no heartbeat," or "I couldn't find a heartbeat." That is a phrase me and my husband heard 2 years ago now, and the reason why I really want to do this video is because I just think it is just so important to talk about it. So I'm going to approach this topic a little bit differently. I'm going to approach this with an attitude of knowing that there's hope on the other side of it. So I know a lot of these videos that you watch, you'll kind of hear a really sad story about a miscarriage, and then you're kind of left feeling depressed, almost like my situation will never get better. So this is just the disclaimer right now that if I seem happy, it's because I am happy. And it's because I have been through a miscarriage and it was extremely hard. But I want to bring to you the hope on the other side of this story. So I'm just going to jump right into this, guys. Complete honesty. I'm not holding anything back. And I'm just going to give you all the details of my miscarriage, some information about miscarriage if you are going through one and are like, where do I even start? Giving you the information I learned from my doctors to maybe help your process seem a little less confusing. First of all, guys, I want to introduce myself. My name is Jessica, and I survived a miscarriage. I am a miscarriage survivor. I had a miscarriage around 2 years ago now. And me and my husband decided that we wanted to start trying to have a baby about 2 years ago when I had left my corporate job to work for our small business that we started, and I got pregnant right away. And so I got pregnant in January and then didn't find out I was pregnant till around March. I got a positive pregnancy test and I was thrilled. I was so excited, and I was instantly paranoid right away. It was my first pregnancy. I had all those first pregnancy feelings. I was paranoid I was gonna lose it. I was really anxious, and during that time we were switching a lot of stuff with our small business into a new building. So when I found out I was pregnant, I wanted to surprise my husband in a really special way. So my best friend, who's a photographer, I let her know that I wanted to do this really cool photo shoot, and I had used this box that I put a heart on, and I'd put this onesie in it with some pregnancy tests and some baby bottle pops in it, and I surprised him with a photo shoot, and he was so surprised. And I'll insert some photos of that as well. We're just so excited to be having our baby. Since I didn't know my ovulation date, they sent me in to get an ultrasound. Called my midwives to make my first appointment. Went in, and me and my husband got to see our little baby Rice. We called our baby Rice because when we saw our baby, it was about the size of a grain of rice, which is insane if you think about it. Saw the heartbeat, and they said I was about 6 weeks pregnant. Me and my husband decided that we were going to tell our families right away. I made these boxes. There was a picture frame in there that said baby due and number, and we put in some pregnancy tests and some onesies, and we told my husband's family, and they were so excited for us. And then with my family, we did these wine bottles, and we put these labels on them that said only the best sisters get promoted to aunt with the date. So after all this happened, we got a phone call from my midwife, and she was saying that they wanted me to come back in 2 weeks because it had said that the baby's heartbeat was a little low, but they're like, that's pretty normal. The baby's heartbeat kind of starts around 5 to 6 weeks. So we want you to come back in 2 weeks and see if the heart rate is fine. That instantly just made me more paranoid. I was gonna have to wait 2 weeks and just sit in dread for 2 weeks of not knowing what was going on. That 2 weeks I just was plagued with fear. I was really anxious. I was really angry because we were still trying to get this new space figured out. I had this gut feeling in my heart that things just weren't going how they were supposed to go. I didn't really have morning sickness. I didn't really feel like my body was changing any, and I knew that I should be starting to feel sick. 2 weeks passed, and the day comes where I'm supposed to go in and get my ultrasound, and I tried really hard to drink the water you're supposed to drink, and we drove in, and just walking into the building the whole time I was filled with dread. We get in there and we get into the appointment, and as soon as she put that Doppler on my stomach, I just knew right away what had happened. She had told me originally that they couldn't do an internal scan, and she was like, we're gonna do an internal scan, and had me get up and put on the gown, and she did the internal scan, and I heard those words that no one ever wants to hear, and that's there was no heartbeat. And she said the doctor was going to come in and talk to us about what was going to happen. The doctor came in and he explained that it was a missed miscarriage, which meant that the baby's heart had just stopped and the baby had stopped growing. So generally that means there was a chromosomal abnormality, that something wasn't going right, and that your body just knew it wasn't going to work, and so that's just what will happen. And me and my husband tried really hard to have these brave faces on our, try not to cry, and we just got in our car and we had told them we're gonna try and miscarry naturally, and we just went in our car, drove home, and my sister texted me because she knew, and was like, oh, how did the appointment go? And I said, they couldn't find a heartbeat. And she said, don't joke with me. And I was like, no, really, they couldn't find a heartbeat. So we went home and we just bawled and bawled and bawled and bawled. And it was the darkest time in our life. And I was really depressed. I felt like a failure as a woman. I kept telling my husband sorry. I kept telling him, I can't even grow a baby right. I felt like such a huge failure. I felt like I wasn't a woman. I felt like my body couldn't do what it was created to do, and I just bawled, and I felt horrible because it was 3 days before my husband's birthday, and so I felt like I had ruined my husband's birthday. And we were laying in bed, and my husband had to go back to work, and his dad ended up calling him because he knew we had a scan. Everyone knew we had a scan that day, and when we didn't message, people wanted to know. He told his dad, and his dad got someone to come home. The next day we woke up feeling really numb, and we thought that I would be able to miscarry naturally, and sometimes people get that opportunity, and we waited and we waited and we waited, and that was not happening for us. And we had a lot of things happen in that time. My sister-in-law had a baby, and so they wanted us to come see the baby, and so that was something that I went and did that just broke my heart, because I'm sitting in there holding this new baby boy, and I hadn't miscarried yet, and I had to leave because I just bawled, because I thought that was going to be me. I thought I was going to have a baby. I just bawled and bawled and bawled, and my heart was broken in 1,000 pieces. And then the next weekend, my mother-in-law's mother had passed away, so we went to California for that, and I'm sitting through this funeral thinking, I don't even get to bury my baby. I'm not gonna get that chance, or know who that baby was. That baby's not gonna get to live a full life. All of a sudden, all this weight of, I'm not gonna get to name this baby. I'm not gonna get to take this baby to school. I'm not gonna watch this baby take its first steps. It all just hit me, and it's just so much that goes on in your mind when you hear this. All these hopes, all these dreams you have for this tiny human being, you realize you're not going to get those opportunities. And it is one of the hardest things that you are going to go through in this journey is mourning what could have been. We're going through all this stuff. I was angry. I didn't get to take time off of work, and I wasn't miscarrying. It just wasn't happening. My body wasn't doing it. My body wasn't recognizing it. We had to make the decision to consult a miscarriage management doctor. We went into the appointment. She was explaining to us all of our options, and luckily you have a couple options. You can go the route of taking medicine, or you can go the route of getting a D&C. And so I'll explain a little bit more about a D&C later. So for me, luckily I wasn't far enough along that I needed to get a D&C, but I had the option of getting the medicine. And when you're confronted with these options, you feel very guilty. You don't really know. You're like you're choosing to get rid of your baby. And she was explaining the process to me, and that I would take this dosage of medicine, and it was going to jumpstart things for me. I, with my husband, agreed that this wasn't happening for me, and we needed closure. It was around the beginning of May when we decided we wanted to do this. So found out I was pregnant in March, found out I was miscarrying in April, and now we're around mid to end of May, and decide that we are going to pursue the medicine. And I really had to battle all these feelings of guilt, of shame, and just feeling like I was a failure. You just feel like a failure. You're told by society over and over again that you're supposed to be able to have a baby easy like that, and all of a sudden you have failed to do that. And it's an identity crisis. As a woman, you know, this is what we're told we're supposed to do. And then all of a sudden, you're not capable of doing that, and you want to know why you're not able to do it. We went home, we got the medicine, and decided to start this process of medically miscarrying. They say to take about 4 days off, and that's what we did. I laid there and I took the medicine, and I was shaking, I was scared, I was terrified. I started having contractions, and I had to basically sit on my toilet and miscarry this baby. And it was just large clots and just a lot of bleeding. Sisters came over, they brought me watermelon and Jello pudding because I wanted that, and it kind of gave me a little bit of a fever, and I just had to wait the whole day out. Eventually I got this urge to oh, I need to go to the bathroom, I'm gonna pass something. And I passed the baby. I told myself I didn't want to see it. Told myself I didn't really need to see that, but I tried to get it out of the toilet, and I just couldn't. Took a moment and then flushed the toilet, and it was gone. It just makes you feel really empty. You're holding on to this thing that you're wanting to carry on to, and suddenly it's gone. And it's over. And you're not pregnant anymore. And you don't even recognize who you are anymore. And then you still bleed for a couple weeks. And so the bleeding got worse and worse from there. And my doctor wasn't sure if I had passed all the tissue, so she wanted me to repeat a second dose of the medicine. And so before I started the medicine, they take your HCG levels to make sure that where they're at, to get a baseline. And then she had me go in and take a second test, and then had me do a second dosage. And then finally, after the second dosage, I went back, got my HCG levels, and they had dropped significantly enough that she was like, okay, I believe you miscarried all the tissue. And nothing sucks more than having to hope for those numbers to go down. Finally had gotten the all clear, and generally with the pills, if you don't actually have your HCG levels lower, you generally have to go in and get a D&C. So I was finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. I was finally able to start healing. From the time of that I found out that I'd miscarried to the time that I actually physically miscarried was from the beginning of April to the end of May. So about a month and a half. A month and a half of sitting there not sure of when I was gonna pass this baby. I just didn't recognize who I was anymore. Me and my husband decided that we needed to go out and do something to help us heal. I decided to go out and to do a memorial for our baby to help our healing process. And we got 2 balloons. We got a pink and a blue, and we went out to a bay where we live, and we read a letter that I had written to our baby. This whole time, I was just really depressed, and we went out there together and we read a devotion because we both have relationships with God. And then we read the note and we released the balloons, and it was just very healing for us. It was kind of like closing the end of a chapter for us, of where the chapter could finally be closed. Even though I'm paraphrasing a lot of this story, there was a lot of crying, there was a lot of numbness, there was a lot of feeling like I was a failure. I didn't really recognize who I was anymore, and I just was in this really dark time. To walk through it is kind of a refining process. I wanted to share with you guys the miscarriage part in this video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button to be notified when I post the next video in this series, guys. And if you are currently going through miscarriage, please know that my thoughts and my prayers are with you. You are going to get through this. I want to give you all the internet hugs in the world. I will see you guys in my next video, part 2 of surviving